control of them, as he probably will tell you. Tony has been a member of Harbor City Toastmasters, Toastmaster, for 3 years and has completed his Competent and Advanced Communicator Awards. He finds great value in the Toastmasters program and has grown significantly as a speaker over the past 3 years. An active blogger, yes, they do exist, an active blogger, sought after public speaker, and seminar leader, Dr. Ferretti has made numerous media appearances, including the Dr. Phil Show, and he has hosted his own weekly radio show, Talk to Tony. So creative. For nearly 2 years while he's been in Toastmasters. You too can have your own radio show. See?
There you go.
It can happen. His exciting book, so he is an author as well, The Love Fight, How Achievers and Connectors Can Build a Marriage That Lasts. Those of you who are in those types of marriages, I know I am. The connector and the achiever. And sometimes one person is both and the other is neither. We are looking forward to hearing you. The Love Fight, How Achievers and Connectors Can Build a Marriage That Lasts. That's the name of the book. Released December 2014, capsulizes Dr. Ferretti's unique practice and clinical experience. Dr. Ferretti holds a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in rehabilitation counseling, that goes with the marriage part, from the University of Albany, yay, Yankee, and received his PhD. Okay, I know you're not a Yankee fan, but close enough.
I am.
And you are? Yes! I like you. I knew I liked him. I thought he was way too up north. He might like Toronto or something. And received his PhD in counseling psychology from the University of Southern Mississippi. So he ranges. Good old South, huh?
Culture shock.
I bet it is. Happily married for over 25 years. Congratulations, with 3 children, and he still has hair. Are these a girl?
All 3 girls.
All 3 girls. Listen to what he tells you. It works. He still has hair. My husband is completely bald, and we have 1 girl. He has 3 children and lives and practices in Central Florida. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Tony Ferretti.
I don't even have a male dog, okay? So it's tough. It's really tough. So I'm here to talk about control. How many of you have been told by someone that's close to you that you're a control freak? All right? Now, if you're not raising your hand, you're in denial, okay? Because truly everyone seeks control over certain aspects of their life. And it's not such a bad thing. It's actually instinctual. It's part of our survival of the fittest. And sometimes being in control is a good thing. And it can help us in so many ways. But it can hurt us just as badly. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. So we certainly want our surgeon to be in control when he's operating on us, right? We want our airline pilot to be in control of the plane. But those surgeons and those airline pilots are the ones I see in my office every day. Because those are the people that take that very same control home with them. They have the same persona at work as they do at home. And they no longer have the title, but they don't realize that. The title is gone. And that creates a lot of conflicts in their marriage. So 25% of my practice are physicians, believe it or not. I see a lot of pilots. I'm not going to tell you which airlines they fly. But I will tell you this, that I worry more about the people that are not in my office than the ones that are. Because a lot of people will never step foot in a psychologist's office because they don't need my help. Now those are the people that really scare me. Those are the people that really worry me. So I want to share a story with you. It's a personal story. This happened back when I was on fellowship in St. Louis. And it has to do with my prized possession. This was my first car that I purchased when I had a little bit of money. Not much, but a little bit of money. 1987 Toyota Celica. So I'm in St. Louis and I'm at the University Medical Center. And one night, it was in the middle of the winter, December. And one night, I hear this rumbling outside my apartment building, and all of a sudden I hear bam, 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 bam on my door. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I open the door, and everyone is in chaos. Everyone is running around crazy. And they're yelling, there's a fire. Get out of the building right now. There's a fire. So I run out. Fortunately, everyone got out of the building. But it wasn't my building that was engulfed in flames. It was the building right next door. So they were trying to clear everyone out. Run out of the building, come downstairs. My prized possession, it's parked right in front of that building that's engulfed in flames. So I run over to move the car. Police officer says, you cannot move that car. I can't let you get in the car to move it. You're kidding me. Come on. The thing's going to burn up. I'm sorry. You have to get on the other side of that tape, and you got to just stand there and watch. Watch your car burn. The hood, the windshield smashed. I'm watching this. I mean, talk about painful. Talk about a situation where you have no control. Everyone in this room can relate to a situation like that, where you're completely powerless, helpless. You can't change the outcome. And you just have to sit and deal with it and watch it. It was a tough thing to do. And at that time, I wasn't in a committed relationship. So this was my prized possession. It truly was. So why do people want to be in control? What's that all about? It is about instincts. It is about survival. Everyone knows the fight or flight response that's built into us. It's part of our biology, it's part of our chemistry. You either run or you fight. And that's part of control. It's being able to deal with conflict, it's being able to deal with danger. And it's a natural response. Now, fear is another thing that we all have. Fear and insecurity. Everyone in this room has fear and insecurity about something. Everyone does. Maybe it's a fear of failure. Maybe it's a fear of rejection or abandonment. Maybe it's a fear of the unknown and not being in control. So we all have fears and we all have insecurities. A lot of us, especially the control freaks, we don't like to be vulnerable. We're so afraid of being vulnerable. And that's why we try to keep control over every aspect of life. So how did we get this way? How did we get this way? Everyone has a past. Everyone has a childhood. I hate to tell you, but everyone has dysfunction in their childhood. I wouldn't be in business if that wasn't true. We all have dysfunctional pasts. It may not be abuse, but it may be trauma, it may be conflict, it may be loss. But we all have things that have happened to us as kids. And it might be something small or minor, but it might be something larger. Maybe we grew up in a household where there's a lot of conflict between mom and dad. And You were powerless. You were helpless. You couldn't change it. So what do? You tell yourself in your mind, I will not have a household, I will not have a relationship where there's conflict. So you decide that you don't like conflict. So many of the people I see in my practice hate conflict. They hate it. They avoid it like the plague. But conflict, it's like taxes. You can't avoid conflict. It's part of life. It's what you do with your conflict. Do you want to sweep it under the rug? A lot of people want to sweep it under the rug. Or do you put it in a box? Do you put it up on a shelf? Or maybe you're the type of person that you confront conflict and you lash out. None of those are healthy ways to deal with conflict. But a lot of people learn how to deal with conflict based on some of their past experiences. Sometimes going through a loss. Going through a loss. I lost my mother when I was 13 from cancer. And at that time, I thought that life would never, ever be the same. And I wanted to be in control of my future and never, ever have someone close to me leave me. So guess what? When it came to relationships, I could never commit. My wife, who's sitting here today, will tell you how patient she had to be with me because I had a hard time committing to a relationship. Because I had, in the back of my head, this fear of losing her, either through death or divorce. So sometimes when we lose someone or when we go through a divorce situation, we don't realize the impact that that might have on us in our future, in our lives. But it does. These events and these experiences impact our lives. They impact our lives. The final one on the list is conditional love. Now, what is that? That is what I see in my practice so often, where people grow up in this environment where they believe that they have to achieve in order to be loved. They have to perform in order to be loved. And if they don't perform and achieve, then they're not going to get love. Because that's what they grew up with. Those people have a hard time getting close to someone, and they have a hard time relinquishing control because they have to be in charge, because they're so afraid of losing that love and that connection. Now, everyone knows the control freak that is in your face, the angry, aggressive control freak. I share a story. One day I'm in my office with a couple, man and a woman. The woman is enraged. She is going off. Now, our walls are insulated, but not that much. She was yelling and screaming at her husband. So in the middle of her raging, I lean over to her and I say in the softest of voices, I can't hear you. She's like, what? What do you mean you can't hear me? I can't hear you. When you scream like that, the first thing that I want to do is put my hands over my ears. Your husband does the same exact thing. He's got the mute button on you in a heartbeat. Nothing you're saying is going to register. It's ineffective. It doesn't work. She shut up. Of course, she didn't return for therapy. The last time I saw her. Anger and aggression is one way that people try to control. But you know what? There's so many other ways that people don't realize. Well, passive aggressive, people realize that one. So everyone knows what a passive-aggressive person is like. I'm sure you've been exposed to that. Someone who won't tell you directly that they're pissed off at you, but they'll get back at you indirectly. So someone's annoyed at something you did, you don't know what it is, you try texting them, they don't answer. You try calling them, no response. 3 days go by, you don't hear a word from them. You run into them and you say, "What's up? How come I've been trying to reach you?" "I've been busy." "No, you haven't been busy. You're annoyed at something I did, but I have no idea what that is." That's passive aggressive. It's a form of control. The silent treatment. Passive aggressive, form of control. Manipulation. How many people have been manipulated by someone through guilt? How many people? Now, I grew up Catholic, so I know all about guilt. You can be manipulated through guilt. Again, another form of control. Now, these last few here are ones that a lot of people don't think about. Fixing and rescuing. I see this a lot also in my practice. Parents come in, they have a 20-something-year-old son who's living at home, and they can't get him out of the house. I wonder why. I wonder why. Did you ever see that movie, Failure to Launch? It's classic. The parents have enabled this child for years. So he has problems with this and he has problems with that. Maybe he has problems with alcohol, with drugs. Maybe he has a learning disability. Maybe he has ADHD, but he has problems. And what they do is, often, they throw money at him and they wonder why he never gets better. Because enabling is disabling. Enabling is disabling. And that's what they have done to this child. Years ago, National Geographic TV had a program that they were putting together. And I submitted a video. They ended up selecting me to be part of this program. They were putting together a pilot. And the name of the pilot was Get a Life. So my job as the psychologist was going to be to confront the child and confront the parents. And they were going to change this kid's life. They flew down a camera crew. They taped me the whole day for 8 hours. And of course, the pilot didn't get picked up. So, but it was so exciting. And the irony is, I see that kind of problem all the time. So fixing, rescuing, codependency, that is another form of control. So I'm going to help you, but I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you how to run your life. I'm going to give you money, but I'm going to tell you where you need to spend the money and how you need to run your life. And the last one is worrier. Everyone worries about stuff. We all tend to be worriers. Worry is a form of control. How is that? Well, if I worry about it, then if something bad happens, I'll be prepared. Let me just think of all worst case scenarios in my head. And if worst case happens, I'm prepared for it. It's a form of control. Of course, 90% of the time, worst case doesn't happen, but you got it covered. You got it covered. And when do we worry the most? In the middle of the night. When we're lying in bed, we have nothing else going on, and there you go. Our brain goes off, and we're worried about whatever. And most of the things that we worry about, we have absolutely no control over. So when is it helpful and not helpful? Control certainly can alienate people. No one likes to be told what to do or how to do it. No one likes that. And some people, they don't want to be fixed. A lot of us think that we're doing a good thing because we're trying to help them. They need to exercise. They need to stop smoking. So I'm going to help them with that. I'm going to encourage them. It doesn't work. And it's also, and as we go further in, it's going to be how you do it. I'm going to tell you healthy ways to suggest it versus command it. It also enables, as I was talking about earlier, when you try to control people, when you try to change people, when you try to tell people what's best for them, you tend to enable them. Because what happens is they believe that they can't do it on their own. You never give them the ability to fail. You never give them the ability to master the skill because you're always intervening. Have you ever had that with one of your kids? You know, where they do something and they're so excited about it, and then you say to them, yeah, but your shirt's on backwards. Like you dressed yourself, but it's backwards. You know, don't do that. You know, encourage them and hug them for completing that task. Tell them later, not at that time, because they're so excited about having mastered something. But sometimes we are perfectionists and we want it done right. So we feel compelled to tell them. Also, sometimes when we control, we undermine. This happens a lot with couples in parenting. So you undermine, dad says yes, mom says no. So the child learns, you know, to go to dad if they want something. And the couple don't coordinate or don't say, well, let me talk to your father, let me talk to your mother before I give you a decision. They take control, they take charge, and they don't coordinate what the best response is, the best result. Okay, so now let me share with you a story that makes me vulnerable and shares a little bit about my need for control. And this was something that happened early on in my marriage. And when I got married, I was an exercise fanatic. Now, I'm a little bit better, but not much. But I really loved exercise. I had done a couple of marathons. I'd run track all through high school, all through college. And I loved exercise. So, of course, I want my wife to love exercise with me. How's that working for you? Didn't work very well. So I would encourage her. I'd tell her how much better she was going to feel by exercising. I would tell her the value in exercising. I would even use manipulation. It's going to bring us closer together. We're going to be able to bond over our exercising. Guess what happened? She dug her heels in and she didn't exercise. Probably because I wanted her to do it so badly and I was so controlling about it that it wasn't going to happen. So I realized, let go, step back, and let her make the decision herself. Because that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. You think, well, it really is good for her. This really is something that she really could use and benefit from. So there you go. Now you're justifying your controlling behavior, which is what a lot of people will do. So once I step back, she stepped forward. You step back and you allow the other person to step forward. Do they always step forward? No. They don't always step forward. But they definitely won't step forward if you don't step back. I'm telling you, trust me on this one. It doesn't work. So a lot of people don't realize the paradox of control. Here's the way it goes. Relinquish control and you'll have more of it. Relinquish control and you'll have more of it. When you can learn to let go of control, you'll actually have more control. You'll have more control of yourself, because a lot of times we get really frustrated when people don't do things we really want them to do. So we become out of control. And the other person is digging their heels in and they're not changing. So the more we push, the more they push back. So it is counterintuitive. Think about being caught in the rip current. And you think the best way in to shore, straight in. That's the quickest way in. It doesn't work. You got to relax and go sideways. It's counterintuitive. You know what you're supposed to do when you hit a puddle of water when you drive in your car? Well, a lot of people, Norm knows, a lot of people, yes.
You let off the gas.
You let off the gas, and do you turn in or out of the puddle?
You let go of the wheel.
You keep moving. So it's one of those things where it's not what you think. You don't press on the gas, and you don't turn the wheel.
Don't make an drastic turn.
No. You just allow yourself to go through it. It's counterintuitive. All of this paradox of control is counterintuitive. Now let me give you a visual that really will help you with this. There's a pile of sand sitting in the palm of your hand, and you're so afraid of losing one grain of sand that your natural inclination is to want to grip it. Once you go to grip it, it falls between your fingers. If you relax your hand, the sand will stay still. Now, if you remove the sand and you put a person in the palm of your hand, you squish them. You end up squishing them. So, be aware of the impact that you have on the people around you, and the importance of relinquishing control and knowing what the paradox is. Now, we can also learn to communicate differently, because a lot of times our communication contributes to our controlling nature. Daron was giving a great example with Norm just earlier today, where she was commanding Norm instead of suggesting. Now, sometimes that might be just your tone of voice, but you can tell what a command is. Norm, take a picture. Okay, that would be a command. Norm, can you take a picture? Could you consider taking a picture? Would you take a picture? Versus, Norm, take a picture. You see the difference?
Did he take a picture?
He's working on it. He's working on it. There's also a big difference between responding and reacting. So sometimes people react. They react when they're angry, when they're frustrated, when they're sad, when they're hurt. They react with a lot of emotion versus respond. I encourage people to respond, because you're going to get a much better response from the other person when you respond versus react. Again, remember, I see a lot of people that come in with a lot of conflict, and they're reacting all over the place. And it's really